Twitter address is comment_PressTV. We've got two important questions, and they're not entirely separate either. The first concerns Britain, the second concerns the United States, but as everybody knows, these two countries are inseparable in many important respects, and what happens in one has its echo in the other. The first question is this: will anybody be held accountable for black deaths in police custody in Britain? The peg for this is the truly shocking killing by two police officers in Shropshire this week of one of Britain's finest and most prominent black footballers. Dalian Atkinson was an immensely popular and very high-profile black footballer in England. He played for one of the top teams of the last decades, Aston Villa. He scored the goal of the season in the very first season of the English Premier League. He was tasered to death by two police officers. There is a police investigation, but there are no charges yet. But this much we know from an eyewitness, a neighbour who saw the whole thing and whose testimony on video, we'll play it later, is chilling and damning. It's extremely fortunate that social peace, particularly in the Birmingham area where Atkinson used to play, has so far been achieved despite the great shock amongst all black people, most football supporters, and anyone concerned about the unity and social peace on this small island. The tasering would appear to have been excessive in the extreme, unnecessary, possibly. It's now being investigated by the Independent Police Complaints Commission. But if accountability is not achieved, if justice is not seen to be done, it will deepen a growing crisis in Britain in relations between Afro-Caribbean people in Britain and the police and the wider civil authorities. Because if I were to read you all these statistics of inequality, you'd be shocked, but we'd run out of time. If I tell you that black people, Afro-Caribbean people, constitute just 3% of the British population, but 13.7% of the British prison population. If I tell you that Afro-Caribbean people are 17 times more likely to suffer from psychotic illness, that ought to make you sit up and take notice. Just to put that in context, that's for every 100 white people with psychotic illness, 1,700 black people in Britain have that psychotic illness. And the facts are that black people are twice as likely to die in police custody. 1,500 people have died in police custody in Britain since 1990, and not one single police officer has been convicted of any of those deaths. And in terms of tasering, more than 2/3 of all the taser uses by British police in Britain are used on black footballers of modern times, has been tasered to death by two police officers who were not wearing their video cameras as they are supposed to do. And we have from a neighbor, a white neighbor, a brave neighbor, testimony that is utterly damning. Dalian Atkinson was a giant in the football world, and now he's dead, tasered. Let's see what he was in his prime.
Dalian Atkinson, he's done well. He's got Saunders away to his right, but he's got a bit of a run on here, Atkinson. It's a great run. Now, what about the finish? Oh, that's not bad either. A masterpiece from Dalian Atkinson.
Then he tasered him, and as he dropped like a lead balloon, and when he was down, they started kicking him.
Who did?
The policeman.
Did they? Really?
And the one policeman actually said to the other officer who was still kicking, "Back off, back off, back off." Then I heard the taser. You can hear that zzz sound. They kept tasering him, and that just sort of seemed to be constant on and off taser, but he was on the floor already. They tasered him about 4 or 5 times, but long periods of taser. It was like zzz for 10, 11 seconds at a time.
Well, you see, that is utterly damning testimony from a woman with no apparent axe to grind, who is herself deeply shocked at what she has seen. See, the purpose of tasering is to get a miscreant onto the ground. When they're on the ground, they are by definition no further threat to the police officers. To continue over and over again tasering a man on the ground is, on the face of it, completely illegal. To be kicking the man on the ground whilst constantly, repeatedly tasering him, as that woman saw with her own eyes, well, it's an urgent priority for the authorities to hold accountable the police officers responsible for what happened to Dalian Atkinson. It's an urgent matter. This is a long, hot summer. Black people are already boiling with rage at what is going on in this country, at what they see going on to people that look like them in our closest ally country, the United States of America. This is a crisis. If this country doesn't show that black lives matter, then there's going to be serious trouble in this country. And it's vital that the government, the Prime Minister, Theresa May, who already acknowledged on the steps of Downing Street on her first morning in office that black people get a raw deal in the criminal justice system, it is vital and urgent that the British Prime Minister takes action this day to stop what is becoming a dangerous crisis in race relations in this country. The United States will be talking about in the second half